Hello, welcome to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal, I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s to present, mostly large sharks, and we'll get started right away. Most of these attacks we've gone over, the people have chose to go into the water. Well, these ones, most of these, they didn't choose to go in the water. They're sea disasters, so a couple pretty sad stories. But here we're going to start out 40 miles off the coast of Islamorada, 40 miles east of Islamorada, Florida. In the Atlantic Ocean, the date is July 18, 1943. Isadore Stessel is one of 10 crew that's aboard a blimp during the war for the United States. It's K-74, it's the name of the blimp. Like I said, 10 guys are on it, and they are doing a patrol when they see U-134 is the number of the German submarine that pops up on top of the water. It's a still night, so they could see it. It's just got dark. And they see the hatch open and the men start getting out onto the submarine. They also see that the submarine's headed for a tanker and a freighter. So they come down to 250 feet coming out of the clouds, and they're doing 55 knots, which is really slow. And they start firing on the sub. The sub has time, turns broadsides, and now they're firing at each other. And as soon as the blimp gets straight overhead, it gets hit in its engines and it starts on fire. The Stessel was able to release 2 of the depth charges to make sure they don't blow up when they crash. 2 of them he could not get to release, so they would not release, and they're on fire. They signaled in a mayday, and they settled tail first into the ocean, and then they all got out. So all 10 of them got out without any injuries or any problems, and they swam away from it thinking that it might blow up. It didn't blow up. It sat there for 8 hours. The U-boat pulled some of the stuff on board, took pictures with the stuff, and then they were looking at our gear, obviously, to see if they could learn anything from it, I'm thinking. So the next day, a submarine chaser pulls up to pick up the men, and just as they're picking up the men, it says that Stessel was attacked by a shark, and that's all it says. Interesting thing, when I did my research on this, story after story popped up saying that he drowned, so I can't even confirm that this one's a shark attack. I'm still going to look, because usually that's a person that was in the water with them that's telling that story, and it sounds like that's their source. But until I find that, I'm not going to include this one in the attacks, and I'm putting in an attack later on to make up for it. So we're moving on. And now we're going to head over into the Gulf of Mexico, 40 miles short of Carmen, Mexico from Brownsville, Texas, and the date is February 13th, 1948. Neil Womack is an airman, and he and another gentleman, Esteban de Leon, they're taking supplies out from Brownsville, Texas, and they're flying them to Carmen, Mexico, and they have to ditch 40 miles short of their destination. So they had to ditch into the water. Womack was injured pretty bad during the crash. He and De Leon are in a life raft, and a few days after they're in the life raft, Womack just throws himself out of the life raft, and he goes down, and De Leon says he watches. The last thing he saw, the sharks had gathered around him, and he put his hands up and disappeared. So the sharks obviously got him. So De Leon ended up floating around for 9 days till a banana boat ended up finding him. There was a 7-day search that was called off, so you're considered lost, and all of a sudden a banana boat finds you a couple days after that. It's got to be kind of odd. So that'll go down as a predation. We don't know what kind of shark, so it's an attack predation, and we will move on. Okay, now we head over into the Atlantic Ocean, 275 miles northeast of Miami. The date is June 6, 1950. C-46 cargo plane is carrying, it's got the passenger, the pilot, the assistant pilot, and a stewardess on board, so 3 there, and then it's got 62 migrant workers from Puerto Rico on board. And it has to ditch into the water, like I said, 275 miles northeast of Miami. They only were able to rescue 38 of them, so quite a few people perished. They said sharks were probably in the water, and Pedro Guzman, he's 25 years old, and he's in a life raft by himself, all by himself, and he's floating there. They said they think bodies were in the water because sharks were all around. Well, the ship pulls up to rescue Pedro, and he jumps into the water to swim to the boat, and a big shark, they don't say how large, it shows up at the top of the water and starts steaming at him. And the riflemen on board the ship started shooting at the shark. The shark turned around and started going away, and then it turned back and came and hit him one time and took his shoulder, part of his shoulder, and his whole arm gone, left arm. So he got hit that one time. They got him on board as quick as they could, but he suffered 5 shark bites in the time that he was down there in the water. So there were sharks in the water, there were bodies in the water. Terrible situation to be rescued and jump in the water and then you're done. So that's Pedro Guzman. We're going to put that down as an attempt to predate, probably by multiple sharks, but still, it's a shark attack and multiple sharks trying to eat him. So that's another attack predation, and we're going to move on. Okay, now we're going to head back over to the Gulf of Mexico, southeast of Carabel, Florida. The date is July 2nd, 1974. Billy Horne, 10 years old. He is with his brother, sister, mother, and father. They're on a 47-foot, I believe it is, yacht. Motored yacht named Princess Diana, and they are heading from Florida and they're going to the Bahamas. At 11:30 the night before, so July 1st at 10:30 at night, they send out a mayday. So Coast Guard receives a mayday from the Princess Diana that they're taking on water, and they go out and launch a search, but it's nighttime, they can't find anything, so they delay the search till the daytime. In the daytime, they got a helicopter out, and the helicopter finds the yacht, the top of the yacht submerged into the water, so they can see the boat. Now they start a circle search, widening it out, and they finally find the family. They're on the helicopter, and they're looking down, and they say that looks like the sharks are feeding. They say big 12-foot sharks are circling the family at the time, and they said it looks like the little boy is bleeding from his arm. So what had happened there is they saw them all, they were all clinging to a life raft when the helicopter saw them. But they saw the helicopter first, and the helicopter did not see the actual attack, which happened just before they saw them. The family, the mother talked about it 20 years later. The family's holding on to the ring. They got one of those life preserver rings, and they're all holding on to it, and it's pretty much keeping sharks at bay because none of them are attacked. They see the helicopter, so they decide to spread out in the water. So they all spread out, and that's when the sharks attacked. It went after little Billy, 10-year-old, and grabbed him by the arm, did damage to his shoulder while taking his arm completely off. The sister got bumped in the back, no injury, but bumped by a shark. So then the mom grabbed Billy, and they all got back to the ring, and that's when the chopper ended up seeing them. The chopper saw a boat nearby, went over to the boat, informed them. They came over and got them out of the water. Billy was on a helicopter on his way to the hospital when he passed away. And his little 3-year-old brother, Tex, which is Edward Jr., he ended up passing away from exposure like a day later. So they lost 2 of their kids in that boat wreck. And like I said, it's bad enough when you go in the water and you end up having, the worst happen. It's even worse when you weren't planning on being in the water and the worst happens like that. So that's a terrible one, and we'll put that down as, an attempt to predate, because they were going to try to eat them if they could. They just, they're not going to attack multiple people, it seems like, and that's it. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head back over into the Atlantic Ocean off of Ormond Beach, Florida. The date is July 10th, 1981. Christy Wapniarski, 19 years old, her and her boyfriend, an owner of a catamaran, and another woman, Tammy. They're all out and they're going for a catamaran trip, and they leave the beach and they get out, and about noon they had left, and they run into an issue with water. They're taking on water and a leak in the boat. So they haul the catamaran back to shore, and they duct tape this thing. I kid you not, they duct tape it, and they take it back out. Of course, 6:30 that night they have an issue, and things sinks. They don't have any life preservers on board, so now they have to cling to this catamaran, which is sunk, but it's still floating for them to hang on to it through a storm that night. So the next day, they decide that they're going to swim for it 6 to 9 miles. Some reports are 4 miles, but still they're miles away from shore. They decide to leave the catamaran and swim for it. Tammy is the weakest swimmer, and she's like 20 feet at least behind her boyfriend. And then in front of him is the other two, with the strongest swimmer, Tammy, in front. And all of a sudden they hear Christy scream that she's been bit, help her. And her boyfriend turns around and looks, and he says that she's being jostled unnaturally high up out of the water, up and down in the water, and jostled around. He said like a twig. He had said that he could see her thigh had been bitten, that something, meat was torn away. And I'm wondering if that's when it lifted her up out of the water where he saw that, because it could have been when he got to her. But now he's got to swim to her. He said it was the scariest thought in his life, and he's told himself, well, I'll swim over there, and hopefully if I just touch the shark, it'll leave. So she's still being jostled around, and he starts swimming over there. Tammy yells at him, don't go over there, it'll eat you too. He doesn't listen to her. He swims over there, gets to Christy, who's laying face down in the water. She's gone already, I'm sure. And he says he can't find her left leg, and she's missing the meat from the inside of her leg from groin to thigh, from her right leg. They never saw the shark again, and he swam with her, carrying her body for about 15 to 20 minutes, he says. And it was making him go under so much with that weight, trying to stay up, that he had to let her go. So he let her go. A search was conducted, 3 days, I believe it was, till they called it off. They were never able to find the body. I'm wondering if, first of all, I say great white. They say probably a bull or a tiger. A bull is not going to do that. A bull is off the list. And tigers usually bite you and leave, or they finish the job. They're not like a great white, which is going to take a huge chunk out of you and just hit the road. They do that quite often. So do tigers, but I mean, with that whole unnaturally out of the water top of the thing going on, that is a great white attack if I ever heard it. And they say that there's never been one. Well, I think this one is one. That's our story of Christy Wapniarski. We're going to put it down as an attempt of predation. It basically ate her bottom half when it was doing the biting and whipping her around the water. My whole thing is, did that second bite, that must have been the first bite, and then it took the leg, because I'm thinking that he saw the wound come up out of the water. But we're going to put that down as a predation attempt. I'm not going to put down the shark, but I think it is great white, but it's just going to go under a large shark, basically, and it's going to go in the books. And that's our story of Christy Wapniarski. And we'll get to our final attack, which is going to take the place of the first attack, which we don't even know if the guy drowned or if the shark took him. Okay, now we're going to head over to Second Beach, which is Port St. John's, Australia. The date is December 25th, Christmas, 2012. Laya, Sibili, 20 years old. He is in the water swimming with some other people. The beach is crowded that day. Lifeguards notice a shark amongst the people, and not a small one, a big one, 12-footer. You see a 12-foot shark swimming around. They're screaming for people to get off the beach. People are having so much fun. Some people aren't hearing them. Some people don't care, and some people are running to get in the shore. Well, Laya's one that didn't hear. The shark went by all kinds of people and decided to go for this 20-year-old, grabbed him, blood in the water. There was a witness on the beach, a young man, the last name's Demise, but I've seen that name in an attack. Well, he lost his little brother in the bay in an attack just a year or two before. He says he can't believe people still swimming there. But he said that he turned and he could see the shark's body going between the swimmers until the tail lifted up as it attacked Sibili and took him away. It just took him and took him out to sea. All they found was his trousers, and that's all they ever found of him. The beachgoers were back in the water before they were even done searching for the body. So 2 hours later, everybody's back on the beach. The next day, people are back in the water, and they swam long into the night. So, these attacks aren't very rare, and it's not like if you're swimming at night, you're definitely going to be attacked. It's still rare at night. So I thought I'd bring that one up, because that Second Beach now, we've had a fatality from a great white. We've had a fatality from a bull, which was Sungabana, and now we've had a predation from a 12-foot tiger shark. So all three of the big three have had a fatality that we've gone over there on that second beach, at some kind of beach. So that'll be it. We're going to get to the final segment of the show today. We're not going to do You're an Idiot today. We're going to do What Are You Thinking? Because I don't want to call this guy an idiot. I just am wondering, what is he thinking? So we'll get to that next. Okay, we're going to finish off with What Were You Thinking? I didn't want to go as far as calling this guy an idiot. I mean, you do what you have to do when you're around a shark. I'm not going to, that's not my deal. So let's get into this. In July, I believe it is, 2018, in the Gulf of Mexico, over by Mexico, Gustavo Ramos, he's down diving, getting himself octopus. He's got a bag full of octopus on his hip, and he's just caught one. So he's probably stabbed it with a spear, I'm thinking. I don't know how you do that, but he's got himself an octopus, and a 9-foot tiger shark comes in, and it wants his octopus. So it makes a move for his octopus. So he kicks the shark. I kid you not. He kicks the shark. Instead of handing him, saying thank you, he kicked it. So the shark turned. He ended up in the hospital. It bit him in the hand, the right hand, the left leg, the right shoulder, and then the stomach. So it bit him about 4 times. 4 times for kicking the shark. I mean, first of all, you hand him that. And then if it looks interested some more, you take that pouch off and you throw that. And then you swim as far as you can, as fast as you can. What were you thinking? So that'll do it for the show. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you join us in a few days when I get another attack episode out. I'll get the stats adjusted after the next show, so we'll have a nice 15 or so to add to our stats. We'll see where we are then, and until next time, if you go in that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.